but there's a little-known movie out there about space ninja pirate mobster wizards with ray guns and laser swords that has everyone in a tizzy. What I want to talk about is, why is everybody so angry? What is it about anger and rage and hate where we have to criticize all of these things that are meant to entertain so violently that people are getting upset and attacking the creators? What is that about? So I give you something that the internet loves. A list. A list of reasons on why we criticize things so adamantly. Reason number one, actual professional critical analysis used for self-improvement, so that I might go out and create things better by looking at those that have gone before me and seeing the ways that they could have improved something. This is a legit and useful way to view entertainment, especially if you're in the business of making entertainment. If you are an artist or a creator or a writer or a filmmaker or an actor or whatever, right? You can look at the things that other people have done and the things that people have created by way of what they did well and what they did poorly, right? And I think this is a very useful thing to be able to do. Where it becomes something else is where we publicly announce and go after those that have made those things. Recently, one of the actresses in Star Wars fled Twitter and deleted her Instagram and all this stuff because people didn't like the way that her character was written. She's not the writer. She's just the one who's delivering the lines, and yet a bunch of people went after her. So that's not reason number one. I really don't think that you can claim actual critical analysis if you are trying to hurt or mock or go after those people that created it. Because what about that causes you any sort of professional development or benefit? There's nothing about that. That's just meanness. That's just downright weird. And I want to talk about the rest of the reasons of why there is this group idea of let's tear down. Or as one of my friends says, it's easier to burn than build. Reason number two, jealousy. Now, most people wouldn't admit that this is true because it's embarrassing. But when you really think about it, I think that this is a real motivating factor that people criticize so violently on the internet, is they see other people's success and they don't like it. They want to tear the people that are successful down as a hopes of making themselves seem bigger. For example, I am short. If I stand next to shorter people, I look less short because they are shorter than I am. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. I'm slightly overweight. And if I stand next to people that are much more overweight than I am, hey, I look pretty thin by comparison. Amongst my circle of trolls, I'm a god among ants. And so by this measure, if that guy is successful and I'm able to tear him down and tell him where he sucks, then hey, I've lifted myself up. The problem with this is that it just makes you look like a chump and you're an idiot. And so going after the actual creators, going after the people who made the thing, and personally attacking them, that doesn't make you look better. Reason number three, sour grapes. Once there was a fox who wanted a grape, and he looked up high upon this vine and he saw grapes hanging there, and he said to himself, lo, there be grapes. And but he couldn't figure out a way to reach them. And so he had cognitive dissonance in his mind, and he thought, you know what? I bet those grapes are sour. The idea of sour grapes is that if I can't have it, then it must be terrible, right? If I can't have it, then I'm going to find a way to make it so that it's not something that I want, or make it so that it's not something that's good or beneficial or whatever, right? Lots of people do this where it's like, oh, I don't want X because here's all the things that are wrong with X or whatever. And it's kind of this idea of poisoning the goal, right? Trashing on and crapping on the thing that you actually secretly want. Reason three, bandwagon. There is a deep-seated desire in human beings who are social creatures to want to belong. And we will often take the counterfeit of fitting in rather than belonging. And if we see a bunch of people doing things and getting attention for doing those things, then we'll jump in and do those things. And so I think a lot of the time, I think we've all felt ourselves doing this, a lot of the time we will say, oh look, all of these people are making all these, they're having a good time trashing that movie, or they're having a good time tearing down that book, or they're having a good time beating that homeless person and pouring gasoline on them. And so I'm going to jump in and fit in, right? And the idea is that fitting in is changing who you are to be accepted by others, and belonging is being accepted for who you already are. And belonging is actually really hard, especially on the internet where things can be misconstrued and we don't quite have voice inflection and tone and all that stuff. And Twitter especially, limited character count and no edit button. Come on, Twitter, give me an edit button. All those things can make it very difficult to really understand what somebody is saying and not really see the body language that's going on. At one time I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about bullying. And the guy said that he would have killed himself as a kid if he was raised in today's day and age, because the difference between old bullying and new bullying is that in new bullying, or what a lot of people call cyberbullying, you don't have to look in someone's eyes. And it's really, really uncomfortable to see someone in pain. It's really uncomfortable to see someone suffering. And most of us, if we see somebody getting picked on and we see a physiological reaction, we have to connect with that person and empathize with that person. And we have to make a choice whether we're going to do one of three things. We're going to join in, okay, and be the perpetrator of that evil. We're going to sit there and do nothing, or we're going to stop it. The fact of the matter is that when you take things onto the internet, that first choice of joining in happens a lot more often than it should, because we're not faced with that empathizing with the body language and the physiological responses that's happening in that human being. It's not a human being, it's a celebrity, it's an account, it's a name, it's a writer, it's something. We've objectified that person so that they're no longer a person, so that we can feel okay attacking them and piling on with the rest of the group so that we fit in because we don't belong. Number 4, our expectations aren't met. This happens all the time. But when we have identified with those expectations so heavily, and our expectations are so tied up in who we feel we are, or what our childhood was like, then when those expectations aren't met, it feels much more than disappointment. It feels like a personal attack. This is kind of a strange thing, but I remember sitting in the theater, and I remember watching, I didn't even see this movie, but I saw the preview for it, and the preview was for World of Warcraft. And I remember, I've never played World of Warcraft. I have friends who played World of Warcraft, and they love it. It's a great game, right? But anyway, the guy behind me leaned over to his girlfriend, and in all seriousness said, "Well, they've ruined my childhood." And I thought, really, dude? They've ruined your childhood? Like, somebody made a movie about a thing that you did as a kid, and the movie ruined your entire childhood? And sadly, some people really feel that way. Like, the fact that something exists somehow is a personal attack to them, because their expectation of it is so high that when they see that, read that, watch that, listen to that thing that is made about the thing that they love, and it doesn't meet their expectations, it's a betrayal. And when people feel betrayed, they lash out. It's a really interesting thing. And I think people feel betrayed because they identify so strongly with that thing. They're such big fans of that thing. It's a huge defining part of their life, that when that thing sucks, they suck. When that thing is terrible, they feel as if they have been attacked and that they're being told that they're terrible, right? And I can kind of relate to this, but not to the extreme of going after somebody. But like, if you think about it, We all choose to self-identify by the clothes that we wear and the people that we hang out with and the things that we choose to say out loud or online. These are all, whether we are doing this consciously or subconsciously, filtered through how we want to be perceived by others. And if I've taken a stand, where I always wear blue or whatever, right? And then all of a sudden blue becomes tarnished because of a thing, then I have to question whether or not I continue to wear blue in spite of that thing that's tarnished it, or whether or not I change who I am and who I've been, right? And that seems really weird when you're just talking about a color, but think about people that identify by a particular fandom. I'm a Trekkie, right? Or whatever. Like, they are that thing, and when that thing doesn't meet their expectations, they have to come to grips with who they are, and instead of doing that, they'll just attack. 5, it eases our guilt for not being where that person is. This kind of goes along with sour grapes or whatever, but like, if I look at another artist and I can judge myself as competent or, close to that, but they started earlier or lived in a place where they were able to meet a person that helped them or something along those lines, then there's something about me that is different, right? They've reached a level of success that I haven't reached. Okay, and so these are all kind of interconnected. But if they, if they've done things that I could have done or felt like I could have done, but I haven't done that thing, I feel guilt when I am presented with that thing. For example, if somebody comes out with a successful book that they have illustrated, and I have not ever finished a book and tried to put myself out there, then I'm not a gladiator in the ring, I'm one of the critics in the stands, right? And so to kind of assuage my guilt for not producing the thing that deep down I know that I should and could produce, and someone else goes out and they produce something, and they sacrifice and do what it takes to make that thing, I can do one of two things with that information, right? Maybe 3, I guess. Okay? But if I have a deep-seated desire to do that thing, and I haven't, I can do one of two things. One, I can say, good for them. And then I can start making that thing, right? Or 2, I can say, dang it, I feel really bad for not doing that thing. Look, they did a thing. I should have done a thing. At that point in time, some people choose to attack the person who did the thing. This is something that I find fascinating. I've seen lots of different artists talk about this. When people say that they spend their free time drawing a webcomic or writing a story or doing this stuff. And, I spend X amount of hours per week, whatever, right? The interesting response is that people start telling you why they couldn't do that. Oh yeah, well that's easy enough for you because you only have one kid, or that's easy enough for you because you're single, or that's easy enough for you because of X, Y, and Z. In my situation, of course, I wouldn't be able to do that, or blah, 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 because of this, that, and the other thing. Interestingly left, the whole time it's like, didn't ask you, man. I didn't ask you why you're not doing it. So why are you saying that? You're saying that because you're confronted with somebody who is doing it in spite of excuses and in spite of reasons that they don't have to. And in spite of lots of reasons where they're making huge sacrifices to do that thing. You're confronted with that and you have to come to grips with it. And some people make excuses, some people attack, some people don't care, and some people are inspired to do that thing and they go off and do it. Reason number 6. It's not that hard, right? Anybody could do that. I could do that if I wanted to. I just don't want to, because them grapes be sour. Right? I don't want to. It's easy. Anybody could do that. It's not hard to do that. And it's like, well, then why aren't you doing it? Why haven't you done it? Why didn't you do it? Right? The other day, somebody said, have you ever thought that you could act? Because it doesn't look that hard. Like, anybody can act, right? Anybody can be a good actor. It's not that hard. You just, be a person on camera. And then you get in front of a camera Have you tried this? Get in front of the camera and realize, oh, that's a set of skills and training and experience and intuition that you haven't spent any time developing, and you just thought that you could do it. The whole like Dunning-Kruger thing, where the less you know about something, the more confident you are in that thing, and the more you learn about it, the more you realize what you didn't know and how much of a gap you have to close to be able to be proficient or good or excellent. It's kind of an interesting thing, and I think it comes into play with this type of stuff. It's easy. That's easy, right? Said the person who knows nothing about it. 7 is that it fills a void. That people are missing things in their life, and one of the easiest things to fill those kind of holes, those voids, those gaps in your satisfaction is anger. It's an easily accessible emotion. It's something that you can access quickly, and it's not difficult to do. It doesn't take any vulnerability. In fact, it's one of the most defensive positions that you can take, so you don't have to be vulnerable at all or uncomfortable. And the goal is actually really easy too, is just to piss other people off. And so if you're feeling a void in your life, if you're feeling a hole, you're feeling a lack of fulfillment for some reason, anger is a go-to. Anger is a go-to. And it pays in dividends, because if you are angry and you attack someone else with your anger, then they might respond in anger. This is the whole goal of trolls. Trolls are out there to be angry and to make other people upset. I remember the other day on Twitter, somebody said something that I disagreed with, and I just said, oh, well, actually, I kind of feel like this way, or whatever. I can't remember exactly what the topic was because it didn't matter to me that much. And then he came back with like all these attacks and all these things and logical fallacies and whatever, and then like a little like smiley face, because I was like, oh, okay, that's where this is going. I don't really care. I'm gonna go do other things with my life rather than argue with you, random person on the internet. And then he was like, you mad, bro? And I realized he just wants me to be angry. He just like, that's his goal. He's angry, he's attacking, and his goal is actually just to spread anger, which is an easily achievable goal, because it's one of the quickest things to spread. They've done studies on social media that out of all of the emotions, anger is the one that spreads the fastest. And so when people get angry about something, everybody wants to be angry about that thing with them, or everybody wants to be angry about that thing against them, and whatever, because it's easily defensible, it's not a vulnerable position, it's easy to feel comfortable in that, and you have easily achievable goals of other people being angry because of all the reasons that I said. Reason number 8, mood. Mood. And, I have things going on in my life that have nothing to do with this piece of entertainment that everybody is, piling on the creators about. But they suck and I can't do anything about them. The absurdity of the universe has crapped on me once again, and I'm mad about it, and I'm powerless to do anything about it. Somebody in my life has died. Somebody's dumped me. Got in a car accident that wasn't my fault, but the dude didn't have insurance. Whatever. These are all situations of total powerlessness, and that's a weak position to be in, and people don't like being in it. And so if you're in a mood because of situations and circumstances beyond your control, you just want to control something. I want something in my life that I can do something about. And I hated that movie. And I'm going to tell the director to his face. If I can't find him, and I'm going to find him online. And I'm going to make hateful videos and write really witty tweets about it, because I can control my response, but I can't control what's affecting my mood. Hooray for lists, eh? The internet does love a list. Even though there's been studies done that 10 is the good number for lists. Not 9 or 11, but 10. And this one had 8. Maybe I should come up with 2 more. Number 9. This might be the most cynical reason that I could think of, but you're not angry. You're just gaming the system. You're feigning anger for clicks. There are some people that are out there that have built their entire following, their entire customer base, their entire fan base or whatever, off of pretending to be really upset about stuff. I don't know, some people are probably really upset about things and people follow them because of that as well, but if anger is the easiest emotion to spread, it gets people riled up and they feel an emotional connection and can validate and help fill a void and do all these things, and you capitalize on that from a really cynical, manipulative standpoint of just being angry for clicks, that's a reason that you could like go attack a creator, that you're gonna like go after an actress or go after an artist or go after an author or whatever, because you get views, you get clicks, you get follows. I guess that would tie into ad revenue or ego or something like that. Anyway, it's a weird one. But yeah, so having said all of that, it's easier to burn than it is to build. So the next time that you see something that was disappointing or didn't go well or whatever, and you feel a desire to lash out, I'm not talking about honest professional critique, I'm talking about lash out, make something instead. Instead of just throwing rocks at people who are in the arena, get in the arena, create something, make something better, do it. And honestly, you'll feel better and the world will be better for it. Could you imagine a situation where, you know, somebody made something and it wasn't as good as it could be, and everybody's reaction to that thing was making really cool stuff? That was awesome. That was the best effort that they could come up with, rather than pissing on people and trying to drive them off social media and making them quit. I mean, there are some toxic fandoms out there, and I don't think it's a majority of the people in any particular fandom. I think it just happens to be this weird, vocal, angry minority that maybe it's not even one of the reasons I mentioned. But just like, go make stuff, man. Just go make stuff. Making stuff is cool. Making stuff will make you feel better. Making stuff will make the world better. Go create things. Number 10, beef stew, Rick and Morty. Okay, I can do this. I've got 2 more. Seem to be prevalent, and in a really odd way. There's a black person in it. That seems to be a reason to attack people. There's women in it. That also seems to be a reason. I really don't get it. Those seem to be triggers. So there's your list of 10. I hit 10 for you. I don't even want to talk about those last 2 because they're so ridiculous. Oh my gosh, so dumb. Anyway, there's like social media stuff and a website or whatever at the bottom of this video. So, yep, that's it.